It's official. I'm a professional producer now. I have production credits on a release that is not mine. Hi guys, it's Sam and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome to the chaos. I do all things music related on here, from audio engineering style content to production and songwriting challenges to just talking about music and musician life. Today's video is audio engineering production content. We're gonna look at the first ever release that isn't mine, that I have produced, that I was the engineer on. This is my friend Lexxi Rain's most recent release, the Grief Case EP. And basically Lexxi had heard the first self-produced tracks that I've been putting out, and she'd been talking to a mutual friend of ours, Lucy, who was working on a project with me at the time. She was being my first little guinea pig, recording somebody else. And so she said, I'd really like you to produce my next release if you'd be up for that. And I'm like, of course I would. And this was the EP that she brought to me, that she pitched to me. The whole concept was basically the different stages of grief in a song, but then also one of the songs is about murder. I really love the concept. I really enjoyed working on this EP. Thank you, Lexxi, for trusting me with your project. I was genuinely so flattered and overwhelmed by the thought that someone had actually approached me to produce their stuff. I'm really proud of how this turned out, and if she's telling me the truth, then Lexi's very happy with how it turned out. And I had such a good time producing this EP, and I did all sorts of fun little things in the production for each of the songs that I just thought it'd be really nice to recap it and go through and show you guys some of the cool bits in the production of each track and tell you guys a little bit about how I actually did that. Let's start off with the first song, shall we? And I feel like it makes sense to just start with the single. So this is Aisle 32B, which was the single from the EP. I'm not going to go through the entirety of each song because you guys can go and stream the songs. But there were a couple of fun things I wanted to talk about in this track, starting with this at the start. So obviously the song, when she brought it to me, it didn't have any sort of intro. In fact, none of the songs really had an intro. So one of my tasks when it came to looking at each of the tracks was figuring out which ones maybe needed something there to act as a little bit of an intro to bring you into the song, and which ones just wanted to go straight in as they did originally with just lyrics starting straight away. And this was one where I felt like it needed something to bring it in before those lyrics came in. So I did just add a little bit of the drums at the start, but it needed something else as well. Just having the drums there was a bit bare. Like if I take this out so you can hear, I'll take out the reverse snare as well so you can hear. Without that, this is what we had. Waited for your call. And so I popped on just a basic reversed snare sound. Is something I use a lot in, and it's something producers in general use a lot in projects whenever you're transitioning from one section to another and you want to give that feel of rising into it. You put in these things called risers, and basically it's you take a sound that is some sort of hit, you add a load of reverb to it, and then you reverse that. And I like to make a lot of my risers out of whatever snare I've used in the project, because then I find they tend to sit nicer in the project overall. Sometimes I'll use cymbals, but that's only if like I want a really big impactful riser and not just a little something in the background. But I already had a big impactful riser here because I had this. And what this actually is, this didn't originally sit here in the song. I had there. Why would I lie? So it was here. I went for an even more impactful thing here, the why would I lie? Leave it, 'cause why would I lie? I'd inserted a bar of silence there, and I'd put that riser in, and then had the rest of the verse come back in. So you had like a really big stop there. But when I showed it to Lexi, like, how do you feel about that? And she's like, I don't think that's really working there. I was like, okay, cool. But I was then looking for what to add to the start of the song to give a little intro thing. And I already had this riser that I'd made. If you listen. If I reverse it back again, you'll hear. You can hear that's her saying lie there, which is from the backing vocals here. Would I lie? I bounced them down to a new track, then I added a little reverb, then I bounced that down to give me a full sound that was both of those backing vocals together on one audio file with all the reverb tail on it. And then it's just a question of reversing it. Normally, if I was doing a riser into the start of a song like that with a vocal, what I usually use is the first word and line or something of the vocal. But I think because the way it doesn't come in on the first beat, and it's waited for your call, those sorts of things don't tend to work as well as risers. anything with an S on the end tends to work quite well as a riser, because you get that, and that always works really well. That, or like no consonant on the end at all, just a nice vowel sound. Those are things that I find work best as risers. Anywho, there is a synth in this, right? And that synth comes from this MIDI part here. And this is just a virtual piano sound, one of their Vibe piano sounds. And it is literally just a basic piano type sound, the original. Can I actually play it? So if I take this off, that's the original sound we had. And I've turned it into that ducking sound by putting a plugin on called Submerge, which is by Slate Digital. But there are lots of different plugins like this that you can find out there. And you can also achieve this same effect using a dynamic EQ. This plugin basically just streamlines the process of using a dynamic EQ to duck out the higher frequencies like this. But that is what is happening. I'm putting a low pass filter that is ducking in and out. So I'm not ducking the whole sound of the synth out completely. So you couldn't achieve it with a compressor, because that's what a compressor would do, is it would just dip the overall gain of the entire sound across the frequency range. I'm just ducking out the highest frequencies of the synth, which gives it that lovely pulsing feeling, which then in the track sounds like that.
'Cause I woke up this morning lying next to you. You said you slept right through the night, so I said I did.
And there are synth sounds that do that already out there, but like I found this piano sound and I liked that sound best, and I just wanted it to be ducking, and the easiest, quickest way to do that was just to throw that plugin on and put that setting on. That, I think, is the most fun thing that I did on this track, because I think that's an important part of sound design, is sometimes not hunting down the exact synth sound that you want, but instead making the synth sound you want by just taking the one you already have that you like and adding in the thing that you want it to do that isn't currently doing. Okay, which one should we deal with next? I think we will do the two that I think I have the least to say about next, and then we'll go into the really fun ones. So we'll start with Gone for Good. This is our murder ballad. We added these hums, and those hums are me. I am actually doing the humming because I can go quite low and I can do those sorts of hums quite well. It's very much my tone of singing. So I added in these hums, but even after I added them in, I'm just going to take something off that's on each of them, and then I'll put it back on and play it for you again so you can really hear the difference, because this is what they initially sounded like.
Minutes turn to decades, silence deepens into tears, and I don't know if growing old is what I feel or what I fear.
Not bad, but it's missing a certain presence, isn't it? So if I just put that plugin I took off back on and play it again.
Minutes turn to decades, silence deepens into tears, and I don't know if growing old is what I feel or what I fear.
And the effect that achieves is it almost sounds like there's a man humming below me, but it's not. It's this Infinity Bass plugin from Slate Digital again. I love Slate Digital. What can I say? I love this plugin so much. I've just got it adding a sub is basically what I've got it doing, and it gives the whole thing so much more presence. But yeah, that's the only big fun thing on that particular track. Let's have a look at Nothing, because there's something really quite fun in Nothing. But the fun thing I wanted to show you guys is this bit of the song.
Look, I don't know why you're getting so upset. I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but let's not make this a bigger deal than what it actually is.
And when you're sleeping all alone, I bet you'll finally admit.
I've been thinking about what I said and how I left things, and you really didn't deserve that.
That in the end you're just dead wrong, you don't deserve condolences.
And I threw that away to give me nothing.
And then that little beep, beep, beep of the phone being put down comes back in.
Really nothing to me.
Which is really fun. And this is actually just a friend of Lexi's that she had record these parts for her on his actual phone, because we could have just had a guy come in and record the parts in here into a mic, and then I add all sorts of effects to do a telephone effect. But you know, you can also achieve that by just having someone record something into their phone, so why wouldn't you do it that way when that's so much easier? But the problem with that was I got the file, and I don't know what weird format it had saved this file in, why it wouldn't open, because it looked like it was just a normal MP3 MP3 file, so it should have just opened normally. So I don't know if there's a specific type of MP4 out there that it wasn't showing the extension on, because it didn't show as having an extension that meant it shouldn't open on Apple. But anyway, point being, I had to download it onto my phone, which is Android, luckily. Luckily, I had an Android device to use, and then put it into a software to convert it to a normal MP4 that would open on anything, and then bring that into Logic. Anyway, and at the end, originally, I just left in, there was a little blip at the end here. Don't know if I can stretch that back out and play it for you guys so you can hear it.
Nothing.
There was just that little click that you get when an audio file just ends like that. And I just left that in because I thought that was a bit impactful. But Lexi was like, it just sounds like a mistake. I'm like, I agree with you. It does just sound like a mistake. Like, maybe we should just make more of a thing of it. And we couldn't decide if we wanted to make more of a thing of it or just get rid of it completely. So I said, right, I'll throw some sound effects on and make more of a thing of it and see if you like that. And if you don't, we just take it all off. And so we went with this. I just went on to Splice and I found a basic putting a phone down sound, and I found one of those phone call just ended bleep 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 sounds. And it works just fine. And then she asked about putting just this sound, just the beep beep beep, just at the end. And I said, oh, I think it would work well at the end, but I don't think it would work well to just have it at the end, because if you don't have it here,
Nothing.
but then it sort of randomly comes in at the end here,
To me,
there's not really anything to tie it into the track. It's just sort of a random bleep 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 coming in at the end. But if you have it immediately after that phone end, and then it fades out, you get your last chorus, and then it comes back in.
nothing to me.
Those two bits now feel like they're connected. So that's what we opted to go with in the end, because when I showed her that, she's like, oh yeah, no, I agree. I bullied her into it, basically. I didn't. I'm saving the best one for last here, so we're going to do Grim next. Let's start off with a tiny fun thing at the start here. Again, we needed some sort of intro thing because it just goes straight in from there.
Said I was done with.
So I needed something to bring that in, because without this,
Said I was done with.
and it just felt quite sudden to me. So I just added another reversed snare, as I always do. But I also added a reversed bass note, is what that is. It's that first bass note that I've just reversed.
Said I was done.
And I think it just adds more impact when the song then starts. Anywho, that's not the main fun thing that I actually wanted to talk about here. I wanted to talk about what I did with the acoustic guitar. So for a couple of the tracks, this one, the one we just looked at before, I think we also did it with Bruce Wayne, we recorded the acoustic guitar with several mics. By several, I mean 3. Just had a basic XY stereo miking on my SE4400s. Then I also had an SM57 that I had just basically pointed around the 12th and 14th fret. But I had this precarious setup of mics basically somehow all pointed around the same sort of spot. Lexi couldn't really move after I'd set it all up without ruining it all. And then we also DI'd her electroacoustic guitar, because she had an electroacoustic guitar. We took all 4 of those recordings, the DI, the SM57, and then the 2 SE4400s for the stereo miking. I did that on all of these different tracks that I did it on because I wanted to have all of the options to try out, because I wasn't sure exactly what we wanted the acoustic guitar to sound like on these tracks. And you get a very different sound from using an SM57 to mic up an acoustic guitar to using something like an SE4400. And obviously you get a very different sound if you stereo mic a guitar versus just mono miking it, right? I wanted to take all of them at the same time because that was going to be the easiest way for me to audition the different mics without having to do a gazillion different takes. So we just took all the ones where I thought I might want to use something other than just the stereo mic SE4400s. I took a DI recording on all of them. I always take a DI recording if someone has an electroacoustic guitar, because I find that it's really useful to have for adding another texture into things. And this is the only track where I actually end up using that difference. I haven't done it on any of the others, but on this one, you can see in these verses, I am using the SM57 and the DI, and I've panned them to give a bit of a stereo feel.
Said I was done with you. I deleted every single trace.
Then when we come into these choruses,
Flame, I go and say your name and it restarts. I couldn't make you want me, and it's not fair.
I used the the SC4400s. And then at the end, I have the guitar DI come back in.
I couldn't make you want me, and it's not fair.
Just to add something to that tone there. Okay, last track with the most fun things on. I am very proud of the production on this particular track. Bruce Wayne is my favorite in terms of what I achieved with the production on this. I think I don't know if I did a very good job. I just know I had a lot of fun doing it. Because we did really go silly and fun with the production on this one. So Lexxi said specifically something that she really wanted on this track was lots of sound effects. So we've got in the two verses leading into their choruses, we've got a couple of things. So we've got those little punches going on in the first one to reference the fight, and then in the second verse even, into that chorus, this one's really fun. So these camera sounds, that's my camera. I literally just hopped in my vocal booth and just put on the continuous shooting thing and just made a load of shutter sounds, and then I've just selected a bunch of them, panned them in various different ways, and added a load of reverb to them to get this feeling like there are cameras all around you. That was really quick and easy and fun to do. I could have just picked a camera sound on Splice, but I couldn't find any I particularly liked. I want something really subtle, because a lot of the ones on Splice, there was a lot of over-the-top camera sounds. We didn't want something too gimmicky. A little bit of gimmick, but not too much. And then we also had Lexxi jump in the booth and do those overhears, and basically just had her change up her voice for each of them. So I told her to like hold her nose for one of them, and I told her to do one like over here, like that. And then another fun one is that I wanted to try and find a way to put an explosion sort of sound in it. So I got an explosion sound off Splice, and then I've done the reverse thing with it. Basically, I made it my riser here at the end. And I think that works so well, because it just feels so dramatic, like that comic book feel, without being just another comic book sound effect. Because I could have just put a massive explosion sound there, but reversing it, making it into a riser, I think worked a lot better. But the other fun thing that I decided to throw in was, I thought, okay, I'm going to do some vocal chops. And so she says Bruce Wayne at one point in the chorus.
You're not Bruce Wayne.
In the last chorus. I thought, wouldn't it be fun if it was specifically the title of the song? I took that part, that where she says Bruce Wayne in the main vocal. I have not got the original track, but what I did was just I took that section and I bounced that down, and then I pitched that up. I stuck a pitch shifter on it and I pitched it way up, and then I just chopped it up and put it in this section. And I put it on different tracks so I could pan it side to side so it goes. And then this last one here has a little fade effect on it, and the bass has the same effect on it, so they both do this. So I'll just play the bass solo so you can hear that. So it's got a fade. If you put a fade on a track on Logic and then you right click it or control click it and you click slow down instead of fade, then it will slow down that audio file instead of fading it, and that's what's on that. And it's also on the little vocal chop. And I put it on both because when I didn't have it, I take it off the bass to show you. You can hear there's sort of, it almost jars, it doesn't sound right, but when it's on both of them, they sit nicely together. So I had to put it on both. Got that little effect there, and that's how I achieved this sound. You won't be able to unhear it now that I've told you that. You'll be listening to the song and be like, oh my god, it really is that. And that was one of the things I think that really brought this track to life. When I got the reference track for this one, I realised that, again, the bass part in particular was not sitting right with the song in terms of what she wanted. And the reference track she had a really driving bass like this in the chorus. And I played around with adding a new bass on and literally just doing a stabbing bass myself. And then I realised that what I could actually just do was I took the original bass part we already had and I chopped it up. So now the whole way through the verses,
you came crashing through the night like a superhero.
You've got this chopped up bass, and then in the choruses it comes in just as it was before.
You're nothing like the comics you get.
Let's see if I can find, if I got the original bass. I do.
You came crashing through the night like a superhero, and you promised.
That's what we had before, which was all right, but when you compare it to this,
You came crashing through the night like a superhero.
that just gives way more of that fun feel we were looking for in the track. But anyway, yeah, that's the production. Well, that's not all the production on the Grief Case. Obviously, I could have gone into way more excruciating detail about every choice I made, about EQ here and compression here and play parts coming in here and there. But those are what I think are the most fun, interesting things about the production that I have done on this EP. Obviously, I can listen back to it now and I can hear things in here. I'm like, I'd love to have improved on that and improved on that and improved on that. And I will only grow from here as a producer. And the next thing I produce for somebody else, I think will be even better than this and even better than that. I am really proud of how this EP turned out. And I'm really glad that Lexxi trusted me enough to take on this project for her, because it was a really fun project to work on. What was your favorite little production trick that I did in there? Tell me your favorite in the comments below. Don't tell me the one you didn't like, because I don't care, I don't want to hear that. Lexxi liked it, so that's all that matters. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then you might enjoy my content on this channel in general, in which case you might want to hit that subscribe button. But I know that that is a big decision to make, so do feel free to check out some of the other content on this channel before you do so. There'll be something recommended for you on the end screen. If you want to follow me on all the various social media, including my artist profiles for my own self-releases, if you're liking the music playing in the background, that's my music, so you can go and stream that. That's all linked in the description below as well. And there's also a link down there to my Buy Me a Coffee account if you want to support me with money. You can send one-off donations on there or join a membership where you get access to extra content. Okay, that is all for this video, guys. I shall see you guys next time with another fun music-related video of some sort. Bye!